Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jo Nambiar, the author of Phansigar. Basically, a brief introduction about him before he says a few words. He's been a tree planter, a plantation consultant, and currently the director of Axis Holidays. He is a numismatist, which means coins collector, with over 16,000 rare and ancient coins in his collection. He is a social worker and convener of ICO's annual Balameda. Apart from this, he is a stage actor and a writer, as we know. Well, Mr. Jo Nambiar, it's now your turn to address all of us and say what exactly inspired you to write this book, Phansigar. Please welcome, put your hands together for Mr. Jo Nambiar.
Your Excellency, Shri Hans Raj Bhardwaj, the Governor of Karnataka, Mrs. Prafulata, dear Anglo Indian brothers and sisters, and dear friends, I am honored to be amongst this distinguished gathering and grateful to Anglos United for their selection of my work, Phansigar, a historical fiction novel to be released today in this esteemed assemblage. I have been informed that the story of my novel aptly represents the Anglo-Indian era and that both the English and the native Indians are portrayed in their eminence and their worst privations. Some years ago, as I was traveling in North India, I was intrigued by a song I heard being sung by a group of villagers in the town of Morena, some 40 kilometers from Gwalior. It appeared to be a regular and melodious Hindustani folk song, except that it endorsed and praised the art of deception, cheating, and murder. I was shocked. On inquiry, I was casually told that it was today a harmless song, a song that was once sung by the ancestors of this community of Morena. For reasons of propriety, I do not wish to name this community. In fact, these poor villagers sang this song rather beautifully, and you would have enjoyed it too. But I want you to understand the history of these people. It required a considerable research on my part to study this community. Their ancestors, whom these villagers spoke to me about, had been singing the song many decades before the Criminal Tribes Act of 1871 was passed by the British, which listed the so-called criminal castes and tribes of India. They were described as communities addicted to the systematic commission of non-bailable offences. And I was really curious to know more about this. Before the Act was repealed in 1952 and replaced by the Habitual Offenders Act, approximately 8 crore Indians were required to register with a local magistrate, failing which they could be arbitrarily charged with a crime under the Indian Penal Code. I do not, and neither would you, believe that there were so many criminals in India. But there must have been something or some event that triggered off the need to legislate and bring into force a law that kept vigil on deviant human behavior. Phansigar, my book, is a story of crime as it occurred 200 years ago. It was out of this curious history that I fashioned my novel. A Phansigar is a thug, a strangler. It required the English East India Company to adopt several new and pioneering policing techniques to rid the Indian subcontinent of this menace. As a result of English policing, innovative methods of investigation, intelligence gathering, and judicial reforms, the descendants of these castes and tribes live peacefully among us today as normal citizens. Apart from just an adventure story, the book is also intended as a reminder to us of the magnitude to which crime can sometimes embed, root, and cement itself into human society, somehow always overtaking the expertise and the technology to tackle it. So what inspired me and prompted this novel was just a song that I heard sung by a group of villagers. But I learned an important lesson that day. Our history books are replete with stories of kings and rulers, conquerors and freedom fighters. But the truth is that it is local folk songs, folklore, very enduring songs, ballads, family history, my grandfather's experience, your grandmother's bedtime stories, that often account for sustaining eyewitness reports of local and cultural history as they actually unfold down the centuries. I'm sure you understand what I mean. I would love to write a novel based on modern crime. Father Anthony Sebastian will be able to, I'm sure, give me a lot of material on this matter, considering the work he's doing. And we have a lot of modern Phansigars and thugs among us today. If Mr. Shankar Bidari, our city police commissioner, was here today, he would have vouched for that fact. But Phansigar, the novel, happened because I loved the romance of the Anglo Indian era. The Anglo Indian era brought about a system of governance and an understanding of modern liberal society. Finally, it was my dear friend, the late Mr. Sohan Lal Datta, who encouraged me to publish this book. I lost him a few months ago. How he must have wished to see this day. I know he is with me right now, even as I speak. I'm also grateful to two ladies, Mrs. Nilofer Ahmed and Ms. Lisa Verghese, who spared their valuable time to go through the manuscript and suggest some corrections and changes. And I must not forget to thank my wife Bridget for her immense patience. Lastly, I wish to thank everyone gathered here once again for this honor, and along with my family, I share this joyous World Anglo Indian Day with all of you. Thank you.
Those were really words of emotion as well as what went into writing of this book. Thank you very much, Mr. Jo Nambiar, for expressing your views. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to one of the most important aspects of today's evening function, the release of the book. It's indeed my privilege to request His Excellency, the Governor of Karnataka, Shri Hans Raj Bhardwaj, to release the book, Phansigar. Thank you very much to the Excellency, the Governor of Karnataka, for reading the book, the occasion, Phansigar.
That's what